life difficult since no one will save us because no one will magically enlighten us. The way we are discussing is called the hard way. This path is not consistent with our expectation that the involvement with the Buddhist teachings will be smooth, quiet, pleasant, compassionate. Here is the hard way. It is a simple meeting of two minds. If we open our minds, if we are willing to meet, then the Master will also open your mind. It is not a matter of magic. The opening condition is a mutual creation. In general, when we talk about freedom, liberation or spiritual understanding, we believe that to achieve these things do not need to do anything at all, because someone will take care of us. Are you okay? Do not worry, do not cry, everything will be fine. I take care of you. We tend to think that all we have to do is join the organization, paying an admission fee, sign the logbook and then follow the instructions that we are given. I am convinced that your organization is valid, answered all my questions. You can program me as they wish. If they want to put me in difficult situations, do it, I leave everything to you. This attitude provides the comfort of not having to do anything but follow orders. Everything is in charge of another person in charge to instruct us and alleviate our deficiencies. To our surprise, however, things do not work that way. The idea that we have nothing to do for ourselves is an extreme make-believe. It requires tremendous effort, the clearing of the difficulties of the way for us to engage effectively, ideal and adequate to life situations. Therefore, essential in difficult path seems to be the need of an individual effort that will have to be done by the disciple to recognize himself, to go through the unmasking process. We must be willing to stand alone, which is not easy. This is not to say that the most important of the hard way is that we must be heroic. The attitude of heroism is based on the assumption that we are bad, impure, that we are not worthy, we are not prepared for spiritual understanding. We need reform to be different than we are. We judge ourselves special, heroic, managing to deny the temptation. We become vegetarians and more this and that. There are many things on which we can convert. We think our way is spiritual because it follows literally contrary to what we were, but this is just the way of false heroism, and in that sense the heroic is only the ego. We can take this kind of false heroism to great extremes, putting us in quite austere situations. If the teachings that follow commit to recommend us to stay upside down for 24 hours a day, so we will be. Purify ourselves, we practice austerity and felt extremely clean, renovated, virtuous. Perhaps there seems to be nothing wrong about it at the time. We can try to imitate certain spiritual paths, such as the American Indian, or Hindu, or the Japanese Zen Buddhist. We can leave our have, collars and ties, our belts, pants and shoes, trying to seguir his example. Or we can decide to head to northern India to join with the Tibetanos. We can use Tibetan clothes and adopt Tibetan customs. This will appear to be in the hard way because there will always be obstacles and temptations to distract us from our purpose. Sitting in a Hindu ashram, we do not eat chocolate for 6 or 7 months and, therefore, we dream of chocolate, or other goodies to enjoy. We may feel nostalgia for the Christmas holidays or the New Year celebrations. But still we believe to have found the path of discipline. We fight against the obstacles that path and take us competent teachers in some kind of discipline. We hope that the magic and wisdom of our training and our practice will lead us to the right state of mind. Sometimes we think we have reached the goal. Perhaps we are completely euphoric or absorbed for a period of 6 or 7 months. Later our ecstasy disappears. And so go the things in the same direction. How shall we deal with this situation? We may be able to remain euphoric and blessed for a very long period of time, but then we have to go back, or down, or return to normal. We are not saying that foreign or disciplinary traditions do not apply to the spiritual path. We are saying that we have the notion that there must be some kind of medicine or magic potion to help us reach the right state of mind. This seems an approach to reverse the problem. We hope that manipulating matter, the physical world, we can attain wisdom and understanding. We can expect that scientific experts to do it for us. Thus, the point to which we return is that you need a kind of true sacrifice or gift, if we open ourselves completely. This gift can take any form. But, to be meaningful, it must involve giving up our hope of getting something in return. No matter the number of titles we have, or how many exotic costumes as Farapamos of both use them, or how many philosophies, commitments and sacramental ceremonies participate. We must give up the ambition to get something in exchange for the gift. This is the real hard way. We have spent wonderful days spent in Japan. We have been enjoying Japanese culture, the beautiful Zen temples, the magnificent works of art. And not only we find beautiful such experiences, as they also told us something. This culture is the creation of a whole entirely different lifestyle of the Western world lifestyle, and such works messed with us. But to what extent the refinement of culture and images, the beauty of the external forms really shake us, move us? We do not know. We wish so just enjoy our beautiful memories. We do not want to examine too closely our experiences. This is a sensitive area. On the other hand, perhaps a certain guru has begun in a very moving ceremony, extremely significant. The ceremony was real, direct and beautiful. But the experience we are willing to examine? This is something very personal, too delicate for that we question. We would have preferred to treasure and preserve the flavor and beauty of the experience, so that when they got hard time when we were depressed and the pit, could bring that memory to mind in order to comfort us, tell us that, actually did something that was worth it, we are on the way. This does not, in any way, the hard way. It would seem, on the contrary, that more would have been garnering than giving. If we reflect on how we did our spiritual shopping, we can remind us of a time when we gave something complete and appropriately, we open ourselves and we ever unmasked, stripping us of armor, shirt, skin, flesh, veins and even heart? Actually experience the process of undressing us to open ourselves and give? This is the fundamental question. We must, in fact, deliver us, give something, give up something very painful way. We must begin to dismantle the basic structure of this ego that we can produce. The process of dismantling, breakdown, opening of resignation, is the real learning process. The ingrown toenail is the situation decided to resign? Most likely we have not been able to give up anything. We limit ourselves together, build, add layer upon layer. So the prospect of difficult road is very threatening. The problem is that we tend to look for an easy answer and no door precisamos be willing to communicate in a completely open and direct way with our spiritual inner teacher in our lives, with no hidden corner. It is difficult and painful. It is the hard way. Questions and Answers Directed Interview Study with CHEM Trungpa. Our self-exposure is something that just happens, or is there a way to do it, a way of opening ourselves? I believe that if we are already committed to the process of exposing ourselves, the less we try to open the more obvious becomes the opening process. I would say it is more of an automatic action than anything we have to do. In the beginning, when we discussed the delivery, I said, having exposed all the spiritual friend, we will not have to do anything. It is a matter of accepting what is, what, in any case, tend to do anyway. We see ourselves, often, in certain situations, completely naked, wishing to have clothes to cover us. Embarrassing situations like these always arise in life. We need to have a spiritual master before you can expose ourselves, or can we just open ourselves to the situations of life? I think we need to keep in touch with something greater within us, because then the process will seem the more real. It is very easy to spermo us in a room with no one around, but found ourselves awkward undressing in a crowded room. You mean that actually comes to us expose ourselves? Yes. But we do not see it that way. We have a strong public awareness because we have much awareness of ourselves. I do not see why the practice of austerities in the field of discipline is not the real hard way. You can delude yourself wondering be going through the hard way, when in reality it is not. It is like partaking of an heroic part. The gentle way belongs more to the heroism experience, while the hard way is much more personal. After following the path of heroism, the route still difficult to be left to go, which is very shocking figure. Is it necessary to pass the heroic first saw and persevere in order to go after the road really hard? Oh, I think not. And that's what I'm trying to show. If we get involved with the heroic way, we'll be adding layers or skins to our personality, because imagine having achieved something. Later, to our surprise, we found that something else is needed. We need to remove the layers of skin. You talk about the need to experience excruciating pain. Understanding the unmasking process cannot render unnecessary the experience of pain? This is a very sensitive issue. The understanding does not mean, really, do. Just understand. We can understand the physiological process that unfolds in a tortured person and the experience of pain it passes, but the real experience is altogether different. Do not just philosophical or intellectual understanding of pain. In fact, we feel it in their own skin. The only way to get to the core is to try them ourselves, although we have to create painful situations. Such situations occur with the help of the spiritual friend who is a doctor with a sharp knife. If we are in the process of giving ourselves and our spiritual friend and points the scalpel and anesthesia away from us, we'll see, in effect, a terrifying situation. Our spiritual friend seems very angry and disgusted and we want to get away. How would you explain such a thing? Is it just the problem? This is an operation without the use of anesthetics. We must be willing to suffer it. If we run, we perish. A needy man of appendectomy, which runs out of the operating room. Your appendix may fester. But this right at the beginning of the relationship with the spiritual friend. Not been with him not 5 minutes. Suddenly, the ceiling collapses and it just leaves us alone to deal with the situation. Maybe you are saying, I will go with this neurosis. It's been 5 minutes. Give up all, deal with it yourself, and when you have gotten rid of the mess, I'll talk to you. That's what I experienced. You see, no matter what, we are beginners or advanced students. It is a question of how the person has been with herself. If you have been with us, we will know us. It's like a common disease. Suppose you are traveling from one country to another, we feel bad and decided to seek medical attention. He barely speaks our language, but you can feel in the body, realizes what's wrong with us and take us aside without delay to the hospital in order to operate. It depends on the development stage of the disease. The severity of the operation will depend on the disease progression in our body. We can blow through. If we have appendicitis and the doctor wait too long, perhaps with the intention of making the friend, our appendix may burst. And we would not say that this is a very good way to practice medicine. Why would someone takes the first step on the road? What leads to that? An accident, fate, karma, or what? If we expose ourselves completely, we'll be on the way. If we join in half, we only partially in the way. And this will have repercussions back on us. If we give insufficient information to the doctor, and we will recover much more slowly, because not told you the entire history of the case. The more we reveal to the doctor, the sooner he will be able to heal us. If the truly hard way implies that I expose myself, I allow my exposure to which I think is bad, knowing that this could hurt me? Open up is not a matter of martyring yourself before every threat that arises. We must not stand still in front of a train that moves on us for us to open ourselves to him. That would be the path of heroism, false road difficult. Whenever we are faced with something we consider bad, it threatens the self-preservation of the ego. We are so busy preserving our existence on this threat that we cannot see things quite clearly. To open ourselves, we have to cut the desire to preserve our own existence. Only then we can clearly see the situation and deal with it as it is. This opening is not final, is not it? I mean, we open ourselves in a context, and, when we see ourselves in another situation, we take suddenly a mask and put it on the face, although it does not wish to do so. Apparently achieve complete opening is difficult. The point is that the struggle is meaningless for the opening. Once we have taken a step along the way, the abandonment of the struggle itself solves the whole problem. In this case, since it is not wanting to engage in life situations, dissolve the ape instinct of ego because it is based more on second-hand information than on direct experience. The fight is the ego. once we let go of the struggle, is no one else to win it. It simply disappears. As we see, this is not about achieving victory over the fight. When we feel angry, we must simply express anger to open us. When it comes to opening and delivery, for example, in the case of anger, does not mean that we should go out and attack someone immediately. This seems to be rather a means of feeding the ego than to conveniently expose the anger of seeing you the real living quality. The same applies to self-exposure in general. It is a matter of seeing the basic quality of the situation as it is, rather than trying to do something with it. Of course, if we are completely open to the situation without any preconceived ideas, we will know which of the actions is the right and what is inappropriate. If a particular course of action is clumsy and awkward, at the crossroads, not will opt for it, we will take the path of skillful and creative action. We are not involved in the judgment as such, but we chose the creative path. A collection of things and disguise as defense is an inevitable state? We collect things and later becomes painful to give them to others. It's like we stitches in the skin after an operation. The prospect of yanking them scare us, we were apprehensive, we have become used to a foreign body in our body. Do you believe can begin to see what it is, to see how we are, without an inner teacher? I do not believe in any way possible. We need to connect with this spiritual friend so we can give ourselves and open ourselves completely to the teachings of Christ. By themselves, could be a spiritual master? I would not say that. The same is true with any teaching. And not specifically the teachings of Christ. The problem is that we ourselves can interpret them. It is the essential point. Written teachings are always subject to interpretation of ego. Usemos as a guide, but always looking to discuss them with our spiritual master. When you talk about open ourselves and expose ourselves, it reminds me of certain schools of psychotherapy. What, in your view, the function of what people do in psychotherapy? In most forms of psychotherapy the problem is that, if we consider the process as therapeutic in reality we are not serious, but see it as a therapeutic thing to do. In other words, the therapy is a hobby. And what's more, we see the therapeutic situation defined by the case history. Because anything soured the relationship between us and our parents, we have a morbid tendency to, so we begin to deal with the entire history of the case of a person trying to make it relevant to the present. One begins to feel that there is no escape, that your situation is hopeless, because you cannot undo what I did in the past. Feels trapped by his past, with no possibility of escape. This kind of treatment is extremely inept, is destructive, because it hinders the involvement with the creative aspect of what is happening now, what's here right now. On the other hand, if psychotherapy was presented with an emphasis on living in the present moment, to work with the current problems, not only with regard to verbal expression, and thought only in terms of experiencing the reality of emotions and feelings, then it would be, in my view, a very balanced style. Unfortunately, there are many species of psychotherapies and many psychotherapists involved in trying to assert themselves and assert their theories instead of working with what is. They find, in fact, extremely frightening work with what is. Conclusion and blog note. We must first simplify the complicate the problem with theories of any kind. The situation momentariness, this very moment, contains whole case histories and future determinations. Everything is right here, so we need not go further than this to prove who we were, who we are, or who we can be. As soon as we try to unravel the past, we find ourselves involved with ambition and struggle at present, unable to accept the present moment as it is. It's a great cowardice. Also, look at our therapist or guru as our savior is not healthy. We need to work on ourselves. In fact, there is no alternative. The master spiritual interior can accentuate our pain in certain circumstances, which is part of the relationship between doctor and patient. The idea is not to consider the spiritual path as something very luxurious and pleasant, but see it as a simple face with the facts of life. Light team is invincible.